guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna, and for those of you who are new here, welcome. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. Here on my channel, I do planner and planner related videos with the occasional new release video of items that I've listed to my Etsy shop. And if that is of interest to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you hit that little notification bell, you'll always be notified of when I do load a new video. And if you could also comment, like, and share, that would be amazing. All right, so this is the second time I've filmed this. The first time I was editing it and it was just a hot mess, so we're going to try this again. This video will be quite long. When I put this up onto YouTube, I will try to date stamp it because there's actually going to be two parts of this. The first part is creating a Traveler's Notebook style Happynichi cover the way that I do it. And then there's also going to be a second version just in case you don't have the tools and materials that I have, and just to give you an option on how you can make your own Traveler's Notebook style cover. And what I'm referring to is this cover right here. So I do have these in my shop, and basically it's just a laminated piece of paper, very pretty paper I must say, with a elastic, and because I throw this in my purse, I feel it just protects my rings. Now this does not give this any sort of structure or stability, so if you've seen the, I believe it's the classic, it might even be the mini, where Happy Planner has that hard cover that snaps, that gives structure, that definitely gives stability. I mean, this is literally just a piece of paper that's laminated. So if you're looking to get some structure or stability to your rings so these don't move, this is not what that's intended for. Really, this is just intended to keep all of your Happynichi together, and if you're on the go, it just keeps it a little bit more secure and safe, because again, I do worry that something will happen to either my paper or my rings when I throw this into my purse. Now the reason why I'm giving two alternatives in this video is because the size of this does not lend itself to either letter or legal size laminate sheets. The size of the sheets that I have to use for this are actually 12 by 18, which means my laminator is the deluxe laminator that will fit sheets up to 13 inches wide. And I'll insert a picture here of what I'm talking about from Amazon, because I did pick up my laminating sheets from Amazon, and I did pick up my laminator from Walmart. So if you have the one that's wide enough, then you can certainly make this. And that's what I'll be showing you in this first part of the video. But if you don't have that, or if you just don't have a laminator at all, I will give you an option on how you can make something like this that is still designed to help protect your rings, make it a little bit more decorative, and just sort of keep all of your things together. Now, I will also insert a picture here of the tools and supplies that I will be using for this, and then again I'll do the same when I get to the second part of this video. All right, so let's get started. You will need two pieces of paper. Now you'll definitely want to have at least one 12 by 12, because for the width of the Happynichi TN cover that we're making, I use the entire 12-inch length, so going this way, and that's just because that's the biggest size paper that I can get. Now this Traveler's Notebook Happynichi TN cover, whatever you want to call it, it will fit the mini discs, it will fit the classic discs. It technically can also fit the expander discs, but the Happynichi sticks out. So when I put this in my shop, I specifically say it's only good for the mini or the classic. I am trying to come up with a style that I can put in my shop that does fit the expander rings, but that's going to take some testing, and that's just not available yet. So any 12 by 12 piece of paper will do. And then for the second piece of paper, I just have tons of scraps. So I have this, but you'll definitely want to have something that's at least 10 and a 16th inch wide. If you've got the 12 by 12, 8.5 by 11, that's great, but it has to be at least 10 and a 16th inch wide. I will put all of the measurements in the description box below. So for this one, we're going to want to cut this down. And if you have directional paper, then you're just going to want to make sure you follow the direction. There really is no direction because it is 12 by 12. I can either have the TN wrap around like this, or I can have the TN wrap around like this. It doesn't actually really matter. So we're just going to cut it and we'll go from there. So for the cover itself, you're going to want to cut this at 10 and an 1/8. And so I really need to get a pointer, but this is the 10-inch mark, and we want to go over the two lines. So this is the 16th, and this is 10 and an 1/8. And that's basically the height of our TN. So we've got that, and that's the main component. Now this is a scrap, and I'm sorry for the lighting. I think one of them is flickering. It's almost 9 o'clock at night on a Monday work night, but I really wanted to get this done. So if there is flickering in the lighting, I am so sorry for that. But for this second piece, again, it does need to be 10 and a 16th, which this is. And then the width of it needs to be 3 inches. And this doesn't really coordinate with the cover. It doesn't really matter. You don't really see it. But if that is something of concern to you, then just get a coordinating piece of paper. But for the traveler's notebook, this is all that you're going to need. Now again, because this is not directional, it doesn't really matter how I'm going to stick the pocket on. But if your paper is directional, just be wary of the fact that you're going to want your cover away from you, because the pocket does need to go in the back, and I'll show you why in a minute, or in a little while. Now because my space is so tiny, I'm hoping that this is in frame, and normally I would do this so that this is the pocket, but the white on white is hard to see. So I'm actually going to do it this way to show you what I mean. Now I have just washi tape handy. You could use just regular tape. You could use packing tape. I mean, it doesn't matter. Really, I just want to put these two pieces together. And the reason why I cut it just a little bit shorter than this is because I don't want it to be fully flush to the edge of the paper. So there's just a smidge of overhang of the actual folder to the pocket, and that's fine. And you just want to butt the two pieces up against each other. And again, you're not going to see this, so it doesn't matter what the tape is. You just want to tape these two pieces together. Now, if you're fortunate enough to have a piece of cardstock or scrapbook paper that is 15 inches wide, then you don't need this pocket. But because that's not a thing, at least that's not a thing I'm aware of, then that's why you have to make this a little bigger. Now we don't want the tape to be longer than the paper, so I'm actually going to cut that off. And again, fold that over, and so that you can see, let me color the edge. Now, it would have been better if it was a double-sided paper, just so that you can see this better, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so I just used a black marker just to show you the edge. Now, that's not important yet, but it will be important. Now, I do like to round my traveler's notebooks, and so for this particular process, I will round them before I put them in the laminating paper. Now, because the laminating sheet that I have is 5mm, it is perfectly okay that this is a bit flimsy, just because the laminating sheet will give this a little bit more structure. In the second method that I'm going to be talking about, I would definitely recommend a sturdier cardstock scrapbook paper, but I'll tell you why when we get to that point. So this is the laminating sheet. Now I don't know how much you can see of it because it is clear, but it is definitely longer than what we need. So I'm just gonna butt, so this is our pocket. And so I'm gonna butt that pocket end up through here because that will be the most secure that I can make it. Oh, and the lighting flickering is really bothering me. I've got 2, 4, 5 lights on and I couldn't tell you which one it is, or I would turn it off. I'm so sorry, guys. So that does leave quite a bit of excess. Now, sometimes when I have cash envelopes, I will just, in order not to waste that much of the additional paper, I'll just stick that in there. However, you may not be doing cash envelopes. So another thing that you can do is if you have a sticker book, and I'm pretty sure that you do, just find a sticker. And I want to find one that you can actually see. Okay. And then that way you can make your own page marker. So just stick that there. Now you can certainly leave this as is, but I do have some glitter handy, as you do. So you can sprinkle this on and be very careful, just because you don't want to be wearing your glitter or get it in your eye. Now what you certainly do not want to do, and again, I do have other colored glitter, but it is just not convenient for me to get to right now. And so I don't know if you can see this yet. But what is important is that it's okay if it clumps up. That's perfectly okay. But it cannot interfere with the line of your traveler's notebook, because then you won't get a good seal. Now you don't have to put the glitter, you don't have to put, because this is more of a like a white hollow type of glitter. I have other that you would be able to see more, but again, I'd have to move like 8 things to get to it. And yeah, we're not about that right now. So I'm gonna run this through the laminator and then I'll show you what it looks like in just a minute. All right, guys, so I do have to say the Scotch brand deluxe laminator that has the 13-inch wide opening is a fast heat up, but then it takes forever when you're actually laminating your items. Now, I don't know if you can see it, and I'm pretty sure the glare is insane, but that glitter does show up. Now, here, and again, it's I never have a solid piece of paper when I need one. I don't know if you can see it. It's really hard because it's clear, but with the laminating sheet, it doesn't do a really good seal on the first 2 tries. And so what I do is I would actually cut this off and then run it through this way. Because right now I'm feeding it through this way, but once I cut this off, it actually will fit to go in that way. And I'll run it through as many times as I need to try to get as tight a seal as I can. Now, what you would do from this step is you would cut this piece off, and we'll deal with that piece later. And because the seal on the end is rather tight, I can go pretty close, but you definitely don't want to break the seal because then eventually that's going to just lift away from the paper. Now, just for visual purposes, I actually did one earlier so that you can actually see, because in order for this to be a functional TN cover, you actually do need to be able to slip your traveler's notebook inside of it. So you're gonna just wanna cut the excess off, again, as close as you can, but to be mindful of the bubble, because you don't wanna break that. And then what you want to do is, with an X-Acto or a box cutter, it's the same thing. You're going to want to go very gently and actually for this break the seal, because you don't want to go so deep that you're going to cut the paper behind it, because then that defeats the purpose. But you do want to make this a functional pocket. And let's see if we got that up. Okay. Now we used the corner chomper to round the corners, but if you don't have a corner chomper, and I wouldn't recommend anything but a corner chomper, just because some of the page or the corner rounders that I've seen barely round corners of paper, and it definitely will not go through the laminate. But you can just basically round it off with a pair of scissors. That is a really sharp point, so I make it a point of always rounding anything that I laminate, just because if you're buying something from me, I don't want it to hurt you. That's just a personal thing though. All right, so we've got our cover here, and this is our back pocket. And then I just use my scoreboard. And I broke my little scoring tool, but it still works. And what I want to do is I want to line the paper and not the laminate to the 12-inch mark, because I do know this is 12 inches wide. If I take into account the laminate, it's going to skew my center mark. And I want to score at 6 inches, 6.5, and 7. And then I want to score at 5.5 inches and 5, and that gives me a 2-inch spine between 5 and 7 inches. Now, if you wanted to, you could score on every quarter, every 16th, but I find that is sufficient. Now, for the middle one, at the 6 inches, that one you want to give a really good crease. And then for the other two, you just basically want to round it. It doesn't have to be super creased. You just want it to be able to hug your discs. But again, I'm not going to be too crazy about the creasing. Now, I will tell you that I have made a bunch of these for my shop, but I don't know if it's the paper, I don't know if it's the laminate, I don't know if it's just because of the scoring, but for every 3 that I make, 1 turns out to be a dud because the laminate separates from the inside of here. And let me see if I can show you before we, you know what, let's finish this and then I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is actually nearly done. This is our back cover, and I am going to use my crocodile to put a grommet in here. That is not necessary. You could actually just punch a hole, or you could just put the elastic just around it, just freeform, without being attached. Sorry guys, it's a long day. I'm trying to be as clear as I can. And if I were doing this just, you know, for my shop, I'd already have like 3 or 4 done by now. So I used the tool to punch the hole, and then I used the top end to put the grommet in, and the side that I used is 3/16. And then I do have elastic on a spool. Again, it's all tucked away because I don't craft normally after work. But when you have your elastic, and this is a 2mm, you can really use any size elastics just so long as it fits through your hole. But I usually just measure it by, all right, just double the width of the cover and you're good to go. You'll put a knot on one end and then you'll just thread it through. And then this is how it keeps it secure and your elastic does not fly away. Now, if you did not have a crocodile and you just wanted to just keep it closed, then you certainly could use the same thing and just put the elastic around it. Now, I know there are some people who actually have the crocodile that's the long that they can get in the middle here. I don't have that, and I don't think it's worthwhile to purchase it because this works for me. But again, just use what you have, and really you just want to try to keep this closed. And let me get organized here. So if I get my Happynichi, it just pulls out the back cover, and you do really want a sturdy back cover for this. Slides into the pocket. There is not much give on the top and bottom, and that's good because then it's not going to wiggle around a lot. And then you've got a Happynichi cover. And my Happynichi is on classic discs, as you can see. It definitely makes the tabs safe. Nothing sticks out from this. If you do have it on spander rings, the rings will be protected. It's just your Happynichi sticks out by 1/2 inch, and to me that just kind of defeats the purpose. Okay, so that's the way that I would do it for my shop. And again, I'll put all the measurements down below. Now let me show you some of the issues that I've come across. And then we'll go into the other method if you don't have that laminator. So these are some of the ones that I made this weekend, and they are really cute. Really pretty paper. I love it. However, for whatever reason, it sealed okay when I ran it through, but then when I did the scoring, it starts to pull away. And I don't know if you can see it, but that little bubbling there means it's not adhered to the paper. Now this one you can't see because it's clear on white, but you can hear it, and eventually this laminate will pull away from the entire thing, and the laminate only goes up to this part because the pocket itself is not laminated. It's only laminated where it touched. Now you can really see it on this one right here. So all of this, the laminate has pulled away from the paper. Now it does not hurt the functionality of it, but I am of the belief that if you're going to pay money for something, it should be as near to perfect as I can make it. Now, because eventually that will start separating and that part of the laminate will come off. And this is actually one of my favorite ones because it's just so pretty. There's nothing wrong with the outside. This wouldn't hurt your Happynichi on the inside. It's just, again, I really don't want to charge someone money for this. So I'm just going to have a lot of extra covers because all of these have just flaws that are just too egregious for me to comfortably put in my shop. Now we do have this little piece of paper, or this little page marker thing here, and really all you would do is you would cut it down to size, and we'll cut that side. And I'm going to cut it down to 3.5 inches wide, but this could be a page marker in your Happynichi. This could be a page marker in your classic or your big. And if we make it short enough, and we will, or no, we want that top there, we'll make this 6 inches long. This could actually be a page marker in your mini, because really we're just concerned with the top. It doesn't actually matter how big the bottom is, and we didn't want to waste it. Now again, if I had cash envelopes, I'd probably do that. I don't make a ton of these, but if you are not making cash envelopes, then that could be a good alternative on how to use that spare. And then again, because it's laminate, I'm going to round the corners. And because it's the closest one to me, I'm just going to use my arc punch. And I do want the top to stick out. Now, had I been thinking, I probably actually would have cut closer to the top, because I want to see that, because I won't be able to see the clear. But again, it's late and you guys get the idea. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put it a little farther at the top so that more sticks out than you would think. But I want to make sure that I either get the entire punch here or I miss it all together. And I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to miss it all together, but just barely. And then let's put this in and see how that looks. Now the worst thing about crafting on a weeknight is now after all of this I have to clean up because I just toss everything behind me. And let's see if I can get a page where there's some color. Why would there be? It's a Happynichi. Let's see if it sticks up far enough, and it pops in right there. And yeah, so it definitely sticks up far enough. And so again, if you're doing this, just be aware, if you want to actually be able to see it, put your label as far up as you can, or your sticker, just so that you can actually see your tab. And you could do a today or to do or weekly or monthly or whatever. I picked one and we went with it. All right, so part 2 of this video is, let's say you have a laminator, but it's just the regular one and you don't have the deluxe one. And just to give you guys an idea, this is the 12 by 18 laminating sheets. This is the legal laminating sheets. And this is the letter size. So you can see there is a significant difference in size. Now these two are fine for your regular standard laminator machine, but you can tell that this one is wider. This one will not work. Now I didn't buy this for the Happynichi. I actually didn't read it and I thought it was 9 by 18 because I knew that I only had a regular laminator. I did not have the deluxe one, and I had these sitting around for a good 4 to 5 months before I realized, you know what, let me make a cover for my Happynichi because I wanted it to replace my mini and I won't put it in my purse without a cover. So that's how this whole situation evolved. But like I said, if you do not have that deluxe one, there is a way that you can still make yourself a Happynichi cover. It won't be as firm because the laminate definitely gives it some additional stability, but it definitely will protect your rings, and it is a very affordable method. And I've done this before. This isn't new, but just to go over it with the Happynichi size. We are going to start with, again, the exact 2 sizes of paper. So one that is 12 lengthwise by 10 and an eighth height-wise, and then one that is 10 and a 16th by 3. Now you probably guessed what I'm going to do next, but the way that we're going to get around not using a laminator, and guys, I am so sorry about the lights, Mondays, is we're going to use packing tape. So let me secure this and then I'll be right back. Now I did learn with the one that I did previously is you definitely want to make sure that all of your edges are secured down. Now I would definitely recommend having your packing tape come up and over the side that you're going to slide in. This bottom part doesn't actually matter, and we're going to cut that off. But the side that it slides in, you just want to give it as much structure as you possibly can. Now if you have duct tape, that would work perfectly well. Again, we're just trying to make our paper a little stiffer than just having a piece of paper. And so I'm trying to rush. Definitely take your time with this. But you're going to want to have all of the edges down, because when you slide in your travelers, when you slide in your Happynichi, you want it not to catch on anything. So that's our pocket done. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to this. Now I have tried contact paper. You certainly can do that. It's a little bit more fiddly. It nearly gave me, it made me itchy. That's how stressed I was when I was doing it, because it just, trying to film it was just no bueno. So I'm going to do the packing tape thing just so I can show you that it actually does work, and then I will bring you back. Now the only tip I'll say is we do want to fold this over, so make sure it is just a little bit longer on the edges than you would need. And I'll see you guys in just a minute. Okay, before you fold your edges over, you're going to want to cut a little miter on the corners so that it doesn't bulk up in the corners. Again, guys, when you do this, take your time, make sure everything's covered, but I mean, I think you get the gist. And I didn't leave a lot of space here, but that's okay. We're just going to work with it. And you just want to pull it taut. And again, when you do this, one, make sure it's not 9 o'clock or 9:30 at night on a work night when you have to get up at 4:30 in the morning the next day. Definitely would not recommend that. Take your time, because I'm assuming you're going to make this for yourself or someone that you know. And so when I'm making things not on camera, I'm trying to imbue the product with positive thoughts and well wishes, because I think it can take on some of that aspect. Right now, I would not give this to anyone because there's just a lot of swearing going on in my head right now. So, yeah. Now, you'd also want to do the back if you wanted to give it more structure. Now, I think I mentioned earlier that if you're laminating it, then the weight of the paper doesn't really matter. If you're going to do the clear packing tape method, I would definitely recommend something that's a little bit heavier weight, just because, or the paper is heavier weight, just because all you have is just the paper. There is no additional laminate, and this doesn't add a lot of structure. Okay? Now, just like before, what we're going to do is we're going to put so that this edge, the edge that we try to make as secure as possible, is the edge that the traveler's notebook is going to slide into. So we're going to butt these two again together, and we'll tape this. Yeah. And I'm actually going to do a two-parter. I'm going to tape it with this because I want to get it together first, and then I'll use some packing tape, because this is the only thing that's going to keep your travelers or your Happynichi from sliding out that back portion. So the more reinforcement you can give it, the better. It's not really a thing with the laminate, because that one, as long as you don't break the seal, you're pretty good. So you've got that down, and then we'll use some more packing tape. And I really hope I have enough packing tape to get me through the end of this tutorial. And we'll put that down there. Again, we do want to avoid your traveler's notebook from sliding out the back. I'm going to fold that over, and then fold that over. And we're nearly there, guys. Thank goodness. And we're just going to secure our pocket. And we're going to go all the way to the edge, but not over it. Just because, again, when you do this, take your time. Don't do it on a work night. And then fold that over. And then fold that over. Now, I did notice when I did this in the first take, this pocket definitely is more flexible than the laminating pocket. This opens a lot wider, so just be cognizant of that. Again, if this is all that you have available to you, we're really just trying to protect our rings. At least that's the mindset that I have. And so, round your corners. Even though it's not laminated, it does give it a little bit more of a finished edge. Plus, you know, paper is still pointy, and you don't want to hurt yourself. And you don't need a fancy tool, just use your scissors. Now, if you have a scoreboard, you can go ahead and score at the 6 and all of the other marks, but again, we're trying to make this as easy as possible. So just fold it in half. And because it is not laminated, it's very easy to do. And then, and this is what I mean. So the pocket doesn't really lift a lot. There is definitely some rigidity there. For this one, it slides in, but it definitely opens rather big. So again, just to be aware of that. And again, if you just wanted to take a rubber band, again, just use what you have. Now, I showed you how you can use the elastic and the crocodile, but I mean, really, all you're doing is protecting your discs, because I throw mine in my purse and that does it for me. Now, eventually, because this is so, I don't want to say soft, but it is definitely less rigid than the laminating one, you actually don't have to do those additional scores because it already kind of form fits around it. Now this would be perfectly fine to throw in your purse. I mean, you could zhuzh it up, you could put more packing tape, you could use heavier cardstock, you could put the crocodile. I mean, you can make this as fancy as you want, but if you don't have all of the tools that I do, at least you know that you can make something probably a lot nicer because you've taken your time to do it. But then again, I did want to give you an option if you did not have both the menu-sized laminating sheets or the deluxe laminator, because the laminator I think runs around $40. That pack of 100 count laminating sheets ran about $40 as well. So, I mean, for me, it makes sense because I am putting things in my shop. But, you know, if you're just doing the one-off, it probably isn't worthwhile getting. All right, guys, I'm exhausted. I actually still have things to do. But I really wanted to do this. I'm hoping during editing it actually is just a little bit better than the first one I filmed. If it isn't, oh well, you guys are going to get it anyway because, yeah, I don't know how good I can make this just because of the limited space that I have. I'm so sorry again for the lighting. I will be working on trying to make one of these for the expander discs. I don't know that I'm going to film it. I'm hoping to have some in my shop because I've actually had a few people ask me now to put that in there. But again, it's just all about timing, guys. All right, let me know what you think about this tutorial if you're going to make one of these for your own Happynichi. That's it for me for now, guys. And as always, aloha.